some of my Talmidim, when I told them that I'm coming to Lakewood to speak, so he said, Rebbe, you have to prepare a gesunter Dvar Torah. So I said to them, this expression in the Gemara, Even L'Oifrim, or Kishuv L'Mitzrayim. In English, there's a comparable statement of coals to Newcastle. Lakewood, I'm here only to relate the Zechonis that go back many, many years that I had with Avraham Zechono Levorach. It goes back to even before I knew he existed. The Eibishter hat mir geholfen that I was born during the Milchama, and I lost my father a few weeks after I was born. He disappeared. And in all the travels of my mother, from Ukraine to Uzbekistan, there was always a Yid that took me under his wing. Always, there was somebody always present there. After the war, we came back to American-occupied Germany, and I had a Melamed who mamash became a Tata Mina. When we came to America, my mother found an apartment on the Lower East Side, and in a basement. And it was because of the Yeshivas Rabbeinu Yankov Yosef, RJJ. And my first Rebbe there, I was 9 years old. And as a Chedi Engel, I was advanced over American children. And they gave me a faher, and they put me in the 10th grade by Rabbi Yomin Bernstein. Rabbi Yomin Bernstein, I was only by him for 6 months. It was in the middle of the year that I came to him. And he took me into the mishpacha. He learned with me and his son Eli. We used to learn in the Lower East Side on the roof of the Anshe Maimed in the summer when it was 100 degrees. There was no air conditioning anywhere. And I still remember carving things in the tar that was melting on the roof. But Rabbi Yamin was mamish atatu maina. And his daughter eventually married to Avraham Zechono Levorach. He's the shver of dem Großen Yidden. There are two kinds of tznuim. Just recently, a Yiddish magazine published an article about somebody who nobody knew anything about, who was, in my opinion, one of the greatest Mabitze Torah in America. His name was Shlomo Friedman. And he met me and my mother at the boat when we came into America. And my mother was planning, she didn't know that there's yeshivas at Evelyn with the Chaylim, with the Kodesh. She wanted me to go to university eventually. And he talked her into sending me to yeshiva. And hundreds and hundreds of kids like that who came over, he met at the ships and talked parents into sending their kids. He was mamish, nobody knew about him till now. Mamish, nobody. There's a deeper tznius, there's a deeper behaltenkeit. Somebody is mefursen, somebody is a gadol, but nobody really knows him. Avraham Zechono Levorach was such a person. I mean, everybody knew about him. He wrote over 20 svarim. My younger son, played me a tape of Reb Shlomo Brevda, and on a tape he says, "Ich ken a Gadol b'Yisrael, was keiner weiß nicht, was für a Gadol ist. Ich weiß, ja." And he said, "Aber warum Gurbiz? Nicht von Geitzer," he said. And he was a nistel mamish. In all his giluyim, he was mamish a nistel. We go back to the days in yeshiva. As Bochum, we were roommates in yeshiva. And as a Bocher, he learned, I didn't realize his godless only through a third party. As a Bocher, he learned with a Bocher named Yossi Wanevsky. Yossi Wanevsky was an Iliotzu, and he was going blind, Rahman al-Islam. They used to sit by the window, Chaim Belinda on the 5th floor in Brownsville and Stone Avenue, and he would sit with the Gemara an inch away from his face, and they learned for hours together. He was an Eli Otzum of Yosef and Yossi Wanevsky. He loved Rabbi Yosef Engel's Torah, that he memorized the Aspen B'Araisa. When he realized he's going blind, he chazarois the Aspen B'Araisa Baal Peh. I used to walk him home in Brownsville. I used to live too few blocks past his house. And on the way, he would either tell me something on the Ramban, on the Parsha, or a Chiddush that Abraham said that morning when they were learning together. And things that, and the shvochim that he said, he had, you see how glad it is? You see how glad it is? That was his Keseder. Yeah. We have common Einiklach. The first Einikl's Chasen I came to in Eretz Yisrael. So on Shabbos I wear a long beged, and Rabbi Avraham Kedarkai wears a regular suit, and I was embarrassed. I need my gear like Sule Raglov, so I said, Rabbi Avraham, I'm very uncomfortable. I'm wearing a kapota, and you're wearing a regular suit. So please, and I know he had a kapota because I think there were Talmidim who would ask him when he was Tzaddik Kedushin, they would say, we're embarrassed that the Yeshiva wears just a plain suit. So if the Chosin was makbid, he would put on a long beged. So I knew he had one. So I said, please, put it on, I'm embarrassed. So he said, look, you wear your Big Day Shabbos, I'll wear my Big Day Shabbos. That was his shul. He was a courageous person. The Yeshiva of Hutner was a super strong personality, but Avraham didn't shy away. When he had something to say, when there was a problem with the food in Yeshiva, he went and he said it. He had career, in all his Sfarim, I think, in not every Sefer, there's a sogya on Lubavitcher Rebbe somewhere in learning. He even put out a kuntris, b'malakit, all those things. I'm not going to say the name of it. So, and then he'd go to 770 in order to be mizvakeach with them. I said, oh, they're going to kill you. What are you doing? He says, no, we get along very well. We get along very well. When the yeshiva in Moshe turned to a Kachim yeshiva, it was Keneged Ritzoyne, but you have to go with the tide, Vaishtois. So I think his first drasha was, it's the way I heard over, that he said that Chana didn't have children. And she went to the Beis HaMikdash and she was in Spalo. She sits on noise, and it says that Eli HaKoyin Yachshevel V'Shikoiro. And so she was in Spalo, and she said, V'Nosatli Zera Anoshim. So Roshat Zera Anoshim, Loi Tipish, V'Loi Chocham. She wants an average child. So she goes home, she has a child, Baruch Hashem. The Yingel is 2 or 3 years old, she brings him back to the Beis HaMikdash to thank the Rabbeinu Shalom. And they come in, and Eli HaKoyin just made a toys. He just pasteled Shrita Bizarre and Koitchen. And the Yingel says, excuse me, I think that's a Rimachta toys. He says, Shrita Bizarre is kosher by Koitchen. And Eli becomes furious, and Mamish Sakonis Nefoshes. And Chana says, spare him, please spare him. El Hanar Hazeh is Balolti. Kasha, Kasha. El Hanar Hazeh, she wanted a Zera Anoshim, the Tipish, she wanted an average child. As the Rayo Alt, and I can't coach him. Das is an average child. Teretz is, he said, Noshim hat noch nicht gelernt. Nezikin hat noch nicht gelernt. Was tut in coaching? And nicht Kazach Chocham. That's courage. That's the Arain for Shmuz into changing him to learning coaching. The Sefer, he has something that ultimately hit home to me. It says in the Torah, "Limatim es b'neichem," and he says, "V'shnantum levanecha." So the Rambam paskins that limatim es b'neichem is ela bonim. And bonim, if you can learn by yourself with your son, you believe to learn by yourself with it. If not, you have to be seicher amalamed. You have to hire somebody to learn with it. V'shnantum levanecha ela talmidim. Talmidim, so the Rambam, you can learn with them, it's a mitzvah to learn with them, but if you can't learn with them, there's no inyan to pay somebody to learn with them. So the woman said, what's the nafkamina? Nafkamina is as I said, that's zwei dinim. So that's zwei dinim. Ein is deine Kinder. Benecha, the mitzvah is that he should know kol HaTorah kula. That's your job. Not the mice of learning with him. You have to see to it that your son knows everything. If you can't do it yourself, you have to hire somebody. V'shenantam levadecha, v'shenantam eshlei divrei Torah mechudadim v'ficha. You're learning with Talmidim, and Talmidei yoisim v'kulam. You're learning with Talmidim for your own steiging. So Mela, if you learn with them yourself, that means steiging. But what's the point of hiring somebody to learn with them? You get nothing from that. I told this over at Torah Messiah thing, and when somebody came over to me and he said, he thinks he heard from Abraham another thing. He said, he asked me, in order to make the point, how many Talmidim do you have? I told him I have about 20. How many are learning well? So I said, about 15. He says, you think that you're doing a great job then. 15 out of 20 is a Merdika batting average. How many children do you have? He said, 6 and over. And how are you doing? I said, I'm having problems with one of them. So he said, 5 out of 6 is a better batting average than 15 out of 20. And when it's 5 out of 6, you're not walking around proud of yourself. It doesn't give you menucha for a minute. The Torah is telling you, V'shenantam levanecha ela talmidim. Why doesn't it say V'shenantam letalmidecha? It's telling you that your talmidim have to be like your children. And if there's one son, just like one son is not learning, and that you can't find menucha from that. If you have one Talmud that's not learning, you have to feel that way too. So it came home to me. So I was nanny from him as a bocher. I was nanny from him years later as well. And now my son is being nanny from Geseda. He's a chibur.